Kung Fu Panda 4 is the long-awaited sequel to this beloved franchise and once again stars Jack Black as Po the Panda, who's become the Dragon Warrior and must find a successor at the same time, while also battling one of the most powerful villains the series has ever seen, who is plotting something that seriously might put the world at stake. I never grew up with this franchise as a whole, so I was never really that excited whenever entries came out over the last few years. I forget when the third one exactly came out. I know it came out a few years ago. But I was never really hyped for them. But as I've grown older and I've gone back and watched them, I've actually become a fan of the series. I think they're pretty solid films, and in comparison to some of the other animated projects that have been released over the last few years, they show a lot of artistic intent and are very fun to watch. And this one is no exception. I'm not a series diehard or anything, and I would not confidently say that I know my stuff when it comes to Kung Fu Panda at all. But I would confidently say, as someone who doesn't really like the second or third one, this is probably my second favorite entry in the series. Again, I don't like the second or third one. I know a lot of people do, so take that with a grain of salt. Take that as you will, but for me personally, I think this is by far my second favorite entry in the series. I think by far my favorite thing about this franchise is Jack Black's performance as Po, because every single movie in the series, he goes all in 100% and he has such a fun time with it, and you can tell as an audience member. And here is no exception, because here, Jack Black is having the time of his life yet again. He gives such a youthful energy to this vocal performance, and he really stands out among all the other excellent cast members here just because of how much fun he's having. And when actors have fun with their roles, it makes audience have a lot more fun with them as well. So to be here and in this film and to give such an energy to this and to impart that in the audience is no easy task, and he does it with ease because Jack Black is a heck of a performer, and he is probably one of the best parts about this film. Plot here is very fast-paced, as was the case with other entries in the series, but here it's technically more fast-paced because this is a comparatively tiny runtime of like 95 minutes, right? An hour and 35 minutes around there roughly. And the action is constantly nonstop. There's never a drag in this film. It's constantly one plot point to another, no drags whatsoever, really just like moving at a breakneck pace, never slowing down. And I can't really tell if I loved that or hated that, honestly, because on one hand, I was thoroughly entertained throughout the entire runtime. I never felt that there was a moment that really slowed down. But on the other, it kind of didn't give enough depth or nuance to many of the character beats, especially for some of the new characters we're introduced to and the villain, which I will get to eventually. Speaking of the villain, Viola Davis as Chameleon is incredible. I love Viola Davis. I think she's a hell of an actor. And here she really proves that because her vocal performance is so menacing and commanding. She commands your attention every single time she's on screen with her vocal performance. And I really liked the animation that they did for her character because it was very stylistic and very cool how they designed her character and used all the different shape-shifting effects. I thought that was a really nice touch, and I thought that it really showed DreamWorks' kind of strengths in terms of animation quality and how they've grown from like what they once were to what they are now with stuff like Puss in Boots. Once again, the animation here is good, but not on the level of Puss in Boots good. But it really does show how they've kind of grown as a company and as an artistry team overall. I really also liked the relationship between Ping and Po's biological father. That's a really important part of the plot here. And I really thought that was well explored. I thought the dynamic between them was very fun and really raised a very heartwarming story about family and friendship and being there for each other. And I really thought that both Bryan Cranston and James Hong did a great job here and really had a lot of fun playing off one another. And they were really, really fun. They were one of the best parts of this film by far. The action sequences here are just as memorable as they always are. There's never really a part of this film that drags, as I mentioned. And the score by Hans Zimmer definitely adds to that intensity because it's very in your face, as it is in all the other entries as well. It really kind of commands the attention of the screen, and it really adds so much depth to those action sequences, as mentioned. I also really loved the final act and ending. I don't think everyone's going to love the final act and ending. In fact, I know a bunch of people who are fans of this series overall who are going to have issues with the final act and ending. But for what it's worth, I really did like the final act. I thought it was a very strong conclusion. I didn't think it really kind of wrapped anything up or didn't wrap anything up overall. And I thought they did a good job of like tying every single plot point in the film together thus far. Again, I don't think everyone's going to love it, especially if you're a series diehard. Like, I don't care about the series overall, like as much as some people do online. Like, I know a lot of people online say like, oh, this is my childhood, they better not mess this up. For the people that like are like that, I don't think you're going to like the ending. But for people who are like casual movie fans like myself who don't really have any investment in this series, it worked pretty well, and I thought it was a pretty solid conclusion overall. Again, I won't say it's like, reinventing the wheel or doing anything like different, but again, I thought it was pretty solid overall. If the entire film had been like the final act, it probably would have been a lot better and I would have liked it a lot more and rated it higher, but the entire film is not like that final act. The thing about this film is that I did mention it was fast-paced. It's too fast-paced at times, and, I'm not one to complain about, a film moving at a breakneck pace, but Again, character beats weren't as well explored as they could have been. Kind of like story beats kind of glossed over with ease. And I never really got like a more complex understanding of the new characters overall, especially Awkwafina's character. Like there's no character development with her. Kind of stops right in the beginning. Like there's a few plot points that involve her, but I never really got a deeper understanding or kind of any like sense of motivation of her character overall. And I thought it was kind of like a weak characterization almost. Some creative choices, as I mentioned, will not sit well with audience members who are diehard fans of the series. And also, I think it's going to be a little divisive. I think people are either going to love it or hate it with what it's offering. I would say if you don't have any investment in the series, but you do like it and you think it's a very fun series, I think you're going to have a lot of fun with this entry. I think it does a lot of things well. I think it kind of wraps everything up in a meaningful way. If you are a diehard fan of the series, like this is like your childhood, I think you're going to have some issues with it, with the ending particularly. I think it's a pretty divisive ending and conclusion overall, but I mean, if you can get through that, I think you're going to find a lot of things to like about this. Overall, it was a really solid and really fun film. Is it the best film of the year? No. Do I expect it to be the best animated film of the year? Absolutely not. I think there's other things that are going to come out that are kind of going to blow it out of the water, but for what it's worth, it was fun to return to this world, to these characters, and I really had a lot of fun watching it. So for that reason, I'm giving Kung Fu Panda 4 a 79 out of 100. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new to my channel, please do not forget to click that subscribe button down below, like the video, and turn on the push notifications to be notified whenever a new video drops. That being said, this is Mitchell signing off. Peace out.